Mr. Widemouth, a haunting memory from childhood. During my childhood, my family never stayed in one place for long. We finally settled in Rhode Island when I was 8, and I stayed there until college. Most of my memories are rooted in Rhode Island, but fragments remain from the various places we lived when I was younger. Most of them are blurry and insignificant, chasing a boy in the backyard of a house in North Carolina, building a raft behind an apartment in Pennsylvania. But there's one memory that's crystal clear, as if it happened yesterday, and I often wonder if it was real or just a fevered dream. We lived in a house outside New Vineyard, Maine, population 643. It was an oversized place for our small family of 3. My dad commuted over an hour to work, and we were only there for 5 months. The day after my 5th birthday, I came down with mononucleosis, bedridden for weeks while my family packed for another move. Boredom became my constant companion. That's when I met Mr. Widemouth. He appeared suddenly one day, a small creature with an oversized head, large eyes, crooked ears, and the widest mouth I'd ever seen. "Call me Mr. Widemouth," he said. We spent days talking while he flipped through my books, always disappearing when my mom came to check on me. He told me he hid under my bed because he didn't want my parents to see him. One day, Mr. Widemouth said he had a new game to play. He led me to a room at the end of the hall, opened the window, and pointed to the ground below. I pretend there's a trampoline down there, and I jump. If you believe hard enough, you'll bounce back up. I stood at the window, staring at the long drop. "Maybe later," I said. Mr. Widemouth's face twisted in disappointment, but he dropped the subject. The next morning, he brought me a box of knives. "Let's learn to juggle," he suggested. Horrified, I refused. He frowned but didn't push me, retreating back under my bed. After that, he wasn't as much fun to be around. He started waking me up at night, urging me to jump out the window, insisting there was a real trampoline outside. I never did, no matter how much he coaxed me. One day, my mom gave me permission to walk outside. Mr. Widemouth was waiting for me. He led me to a deer trail behind the house. "I've taken lots of friends down this path," he said. "When you're ready, I'll take you too." I didn't ask where it led. 2 weeks later, we moved to Pennsylvania. I didn't tell Mr. Widemouth I was leaving. As we drove away, I saw him standing in the window, waving goodbye, a steak knife in his hand. Years later, I returned to New Vineyard. The house had burned down, leaving only its foundation. Curious, I followed the deer trail Mr. Widemouth had shown me. It ended at the New Vineyard Memorial Cemetery. Most of the tombstones belonged to children.